This afternoon's speaker is a Bangladeshi national. He has joined IRRI in 2011 October. Hello, hello. He has joined IRRI in 2011 October, firstly as a consultant and later on as a postdoctoral fellow in Global Future for Agriculture project under Dr. Mohanty. His research interest is in understanding rural livelihood, technology adoption, and impact assessment. Primarily, he is involved with the analysis of farm households. He has more than 10 years of experience working in agriculture, food aid, and food security issues in Bangladesh and abroad. He started his career as research officer in Bangladesh Public Administration Training Center from January 99 to 2011. Prior to joining in IRRI, he also worked as a postdoctoral research fellow under Japan Society for Promotion of Science during 2009 to 2011. He holds PhD and MA degrees in International Development Studies from the National Graduate Institute for Policy Studies in Tokyo, Japan, where he was taught by prestigious professors Kei Kajisa, Takashi Yamano, Kei Utsuka, and Yujiro Hayami. Today's seminar is his departure seminar, in which he will mostly focus on his major research work on what he has accomplished in IRRI during his tenure. Please help me welcome Dr. Khondoker Abdul Mottaleb.
Would be like Dr. Barker, right? Okay, good afternoon, everybody, and warm welcome to the exit seminar. In this next few minutes, I will mostly talk about the major accomplishments what we have conducted here in IRRI during the last 2 years. So, So it's almost everybody knows that rice is the staple food of the half of the world population and is the primary source of income and employment of 200 million of small farmers who supply up to 90% of total rice in the world. And because these small farmers are equipped with less than 1 hectare of land and they mostly produce for their self-consumption, poverty is really persistent in the rice producing areas. For example, in the world, the total extremely poor people in the world was 1 billion, according to World Bank, out of which 50% live only in the rice producing area measured in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa. So how to reduce poverty or improve the livelihoods of the rural poor rice farmers is the major policy agenda of this governments of this region. The important part is that actually there's an enormous opportunity for the improvement of livelihoods of the poor rice farmers because the rice consumption in the world has been increasing steadily over the years. For example, compared to 2010, when the actual rice consumption in the world was 450 million tons, in 2035, the projection said that we need to supply the milled rice by 456 million tons. This means additional 160 million tons of rice demand will be created. So this means there is an enormous opportunity for the rice farmers to gain extra income. But the problem is there is enormous challenges also at the same time. For example, you see the sustainable growth in rice production is already threatened by a number of biotic and abiotic stresses, and two of which are most important are either too much water and too less water, and these are the major culprit in rice yield loss. For example, annual loss in rice production in Bangladesh and India only for the flood is 4 million tons, which is enough to feed 30 million people in a year. And annual loss in rice production only in India is 37% annual because of only drought. And most important part is that this threat will be more in the future because of global climate change. If any kind of projection they saw that the carbon concentration in the world will be more in the future, let me explain a little bit about this scenario. For example, it is shown that the worst scenario, the F1 scenario. What does this scenario mean? And then actually the worst scenario is A2. The scenario means we don't know the future, what will happen. So the climate modeler, they come up with different kind of modeling and they try to project that what will be the carbon concentration in the atmosphere, let's say in year 2100. So In the worst case, when the countries will not cooperate with each other, when the technology will be worse, or the country will be very selfish, the emission will be very high. So that is the case. And then carbon concentration will be nearly 1,000 ppm in the atmosphere. In the other worst case, when the country, there will be technological development, but not that much, and country will not cooperate with each other, then scenario will be A2. The best scenario will be B1, when country will be really cooperating with each other. They will negotiate with each other how much carbon concentration, how much carbon emission will be, and also technological development. So what does it mean? In all cases, there will be an increase in carbon concentration in the atmosphere. And for this reason, the temperature will increase. And if temperature will increase, and then you will see that a 1 to 4 degrees Celsius increase in temperature will substantially reduce the yield in the presently the high yield area. And there will be more drought, more storm, and more cyclones in the future. So this means more loss in rice yield. In this critical juncture, we saw that there's an enormous opportunity for the poor rice farmers to increase their income. At the same time, we can see that there's enormous threat. Now, how to ensure income of the poor rice farmers? One of the ways is to develop future technology. Let's say C4 rice. Under this, if we can develop this C4 rice, you know that by changing the photosynthetic pathway of rice from C2 to C4, it is possible to develop yield by several-fold, 40%, 30%, 20%. This means by this technology, even there's a very bad climate or something, we can produce more rice in a small land. So imagine in the future when you need to produce additional 160 million tons of rice, the competition of rice with other crops will be very intensified because the limited resources, land is declining, also at the same time input cost will be very high, and also waste rate is already increasing. So this is one technology. Another can be, let's say, if we can develop, let's say, climate resilient rice or climate smart rice. For example, we are already successful in developing this sub-1 variety, which can withstand under water for 2 weeks. So this is one example. Another example, we can develop, drought tolerant rice. It's already in the hand of the farmers right now, and we're trying to improve in this. But the thing is that, development and dissemination of this kind of variety takes enormous amount of time and also financial cost. So it is better to see the economic impacts of development and dissemination of this new technology. And under our global future for agriculture project, we have conducted this kind of assessment. Is assuming a new variety, a new drought tolerant variety, which is 20% less sensitive to drought at transpiration, and rooting depth of this variety is increasing from 45 centimeter to 50 centimeter. And we only consider South Asia as our adopting country with 25% rate adoption rate. And then we found that the development and dissemination of this variety can actually bring enormous benefit to the farmers and consumers at the same time. For example, if you remember the different climate scenario, because we don't know what will happen in the future, so we also examine this, the economic benefit of this new variety under different climate scenario. Remember, A2 is the hottest climate when the highest carbon concentration will be happening in the world, so highest temperature. A1B is the middle and B1 is the lowest. So in any case, it shows that this development and dissemination of this kind of variety, new technology, can actually bring enormous gain to the rice farmers. For example, minimum 1.5 billion to 2 billion, only in the 4 countries. Now the question is, we also use our economic model, this IRRI model, to see whether this new variety will, this new variety is not really yield enhancing, rather it is yield reduction mitigating technology because it is a drought tolerant variety. So if there is drought, so this can withstand drought, so this will ultimately increase yield. Now, under the circumstances, if this variety is available in the hands of the farmers, then what will happen to milk production, nominal price, and only the milk production and consumption in South Asia? Remember, in only 4 countries in South Asia were the adopting countries. So we found that this new variety actually will reduce because of the increase in supply, the price will be reduced. This means more food will be available and more rice food security will be ensured by this technology. Now the question arises too, let's say, if we do nothing, let's say, if we do nothing, let's say, we allow the climate change, and then this kind of abiotic stresses reduce farmers' income, then what will happen? To understand this thing, we need to kind of counterfactual. Or let's say, we can examine that whether when there is a kind of disaster happening and when there is a negative income shock to the farmers. So analogically, by examining the reduction in income of the farmers by natural disasters, we can actually predict how farmer will behave and what will happen to the farmer's livelihood and to the economic benefit of the farmers. So to do this, actually, we examine these issues that remember that natural disasters will be more in the future because of the global climate change. So how farmers will behave and what will be their livelihood, we examine this. The one thing is that if natural disasters happen, then farmers will face more volatile income because their crop will be reduced in the field. And then if there is more volatile income, then there is some literature that not only the economic loss at present, but in the future, maybe long-run human capital development will be hampered because literature says that income volatility and negative income shock, farmers might reduce their schooling expenditure and health expenditure of their kids because they need to adjust to the situation. They need to buy more food. They need to spend more on non-food items. And then also, this might have gender differentiated impact. Let's say, assume that a farmer who has a group of farmers, he had faced very bad yield because of negative income shock caused by natural disaster. And he needs to withdraw his kids from the school. Now, the question is, whom he will withdraw, his boy or his daughter? So this can also happen. Actually, in the next few slides, as we have conducted these studies, and I'm going to explain this one. And for this, I have used Bangladesh as a case. Why Bangladesh? Very simple. Bangladesh is one of the most natural hotspots in the world. It's a long coastal area, and then people, if you go to the climate change literature, you will see most of the prediction is about Bangladesh. The 50% of Bangladesh will go underwater if sea level rise by 50 centimeters. Like this. So Bangladesh is one of the countries. And also, according to the severity of disaster, Bangladesh is top among Bangladesh, China, and India. During 1982 to 1991, around 15,000 of people died every year because of natural disaster. So I used this one. And also, Bangladesh is one of the countries where 75% of total land is allocated for rice production. And rice is the monocrop. I mean, people don't grow anything else except rice in most of the areas. So this is one of the reasons. And natural disaster is very frequent. So this gives a unique opportunity to examine farmers' behavior, how they behave or how they cope with the situation when there is negative income shock caused by natural disaster. This is one of the list where I have shown that there are 45 cyclonic disasters happening in Bangladesh, in particular coastal area. That's in Khulna, Borishal, and Chittagong. And this particular, experiment is based on one cyclone. It's called Cyclone Ayla that affected Bangladesh, that hit Bangladesh during May 25-27 in 2009. And then the thing is, this Ayla was, the wind speed was less than 90 kilometers per hour, but the devastating thing what happened, before this Ayla, there was another big cyclone happening in this area. Without completion of the reconstruction, this cyclone happened, so it had more disastrous effect on this, the locality. And you can see the intrusion of seawater, and also, 190 people killed on the spot, 3.9 million people are affected, and still today, because of Ayla, 50,000 people live in temporary shelter in Bangladesh, this area. So we use this one. Why we use this one? I will explain later. This Ayla has had a very typical pattern. It affected the total 16 districts, but only 3 districts are severely affected. For example, these 10 districts severely affected based on the number of affected people. But the 6 districts are not that much affected or less affected. So, you see, this cyclone affected in 2009. We have household data from 2000 to 2005 and 2010. So this means we have before data and after data, and we have very nice experimental group and control group. Using this natural phenomena, we applied difference in difference approach, and we conducted behavior. We examined the behavior of the farmers, how they behave with their expenditure on health and education under negative income shock. Before going to show the result, let me show you a prior conjecture. Remember this cyclone happened in May 2009, 25 to 2027, when there was late Boro rice in the field and almond rice was growing. So this has really enormous impact on rice income. So it brought a big loss. So and generally negative income shock. Now, household needs to reconstruct their buildings, their houses, and their seedbeds and barns. And small farmers may face capital constraint because capital market, trade market is not active in Bangladesh. So what they did, they might withdraw their kids from their school to employ that field, or if they're they're rich enough, they will hire wages. I mean, hire wage labor. And again, I will explain it later. So what will happen? That booming repairing and construction sector because of the disasters thing, and then there's a booming construction market and wage rate increases. So it means opportunity cost for the kids increases. So farmers, what they'll do, the small farmer, they withdraw their kids, they employ their field, or very poor farmers who need cash, he might ask his son, okay, go to the other field and work and bring money because wages rate is increases. So opportunity cost for the school increase. This means there is a possibility that the farmers might withdraw their kids from their school. Actually, we examine this. So this is a very simple natural experiment setting. This gives you the difference and this gives you the change. So this model is of this is affected district, not affected district, and in a regression it's very simple. So actually we are interested to this because after controlling, this is the year dummy for 2005 compared to 2000. This where 2000 is our base. Year dummy for 2010 compared to 2000. So 2000 is our base. And this is the affected district, and overall what are the changes in affected districts. This is the dummy multiplied by affected 2005. So this means whatever that is coming, the beta 4 is the affected district and what happened in 2005. After controlling for all this, what is happening here, this is a difference in difference. Because I am getting that after controlling all of this, what is the changes is because in this year, that the changes comes from the cyclone. So these are difference in difference. And major findings, loss was substantial, particularly rice loss because the season, it was May and late boro was in the field and also amon was in the field. And non-food expenditure increases as expected because farmers need to spend on construction of their houses and fields. And also health expenditure increases because waterborne diseases, spread of waterborne diseases in the area because the source of clean water supply was submerged by the intrusion of seawater. And most importantly, schooling expenditure decreased. And most alarmingly, the schooling admission expenditure also decreased. Not only to the school expenditure, but also the admission part. So this means farmer might delay their son to send his school, maybe 1 year, 2 year delay. One might ask that, okay, it might be the case that because of cyclone, the school, it itself abolished. So the supply side, I mean, there is no school, then who will say? Actually, there are few cases, but nowadays most of the schools in that area is pre-built. So they can, and this school can be used as cyclone shelter. So this might not be a big case in this case, school abolishment. These are published paper. If anyone is interested, you can go and you can see that in details of these findings. Now let me go to this another one. Intra-household disease allocation. Remember our conjecture that our empirical findings confirm that under negative income shock, farmers withdrew their kids from their school, and then even they delayed their admission. Now the question is, when they stopped their kids sending to school, whom they stopped? It's a girl or boy? It's a very gender aspect, and it's very interesting. And even let's say on the health issue, we saw that the health expenditure increased. Now, again, the question is, okay, on whom? It's boys or girls? So this is our big study. And again, I would like to request to see the conjecture, the booming repairing and construction sector of that disaster, because it's a lot of disaster and it's destroyed the houses and fields. So farmers need to reconstruct. So there is a booming. And the wage rate increases because they need more labor, more wages, more daily labor. So wage rate increases, and it means opportunity cost of school increases. Now, the thing is, in Bangladesh, the repairing and construction sector is generally male-dominated. So this means when they need worker, they need male worker, not the female worker. It means the school expenditure, I mean, the opportunity cost for the boys actually increase, not for the girls. Yeah, so what I'm saying that the construction sector, repairing and construction sector in Bangladesh is male dominated or male friendly, what should I say? So this means when there is a booming in the wage, high wage, and there's a more employment opportunity in this construction sector, actually this opportunities is biased towards male. So boys, not for the kids. So what we saw in our result, I will show in a few minutes, in a few seconds, that actually the school expenditure for the boys declined for these affected households compared to non-affected households, not the males and not the female school expenditure. You might argue that okay, there is a kind of program in Bangladesh. It's called Female Secondary Stipend Program. World Bank and ADB, they give money to the farmer, not farmer, to the parents for sending daughter in the school. Of course, this might be another case, but it's very difficult to differentiate from our result. This one, so maybe combinedly, what we saw that it's a dropout for the boys, not for the girls. So you see here. So here is the crop income, and you can see. So I'm sorry. This is the you can see from the back. This is the difference in difference. This is the our interest. I had some other variables like demographic variables. I didn't put here. You see, male health expenditure and female health expenditure almost same. The coefficient, even the size and significance is lower, but the size is the same. But if you look at the education, male education expenditure reduced is 810 taka on average for an affected household compared to an unaffected household. And for the female education, it did not. It is also negative, but there is no significant changes between affected and non-affected household. It means affected household, they are forced to withdraw their boys from the school, not the girls from the school. Well, you cannot generalize these findings because you cannot say that, okay, this might be a general case. When there is a natural disaster, farmers might withdraw their boys, not the girls. Because some other studies find some opposite thing. For example, in Nicaragua and in Argentina, because of financial crisis, actually boys' school attendance increased than girls. Because financial crisis, wage rate went down, so opportunity cost to the schooling declined, so they come back to school. And also, there are some other contrasting findings you can find in Khondoker, IRRI and also in Ethiopia related to drought and this. This paper is under revision in World Development, and we are hopeful about this. Now, let me come back to this figure. You have seen this figure many times in many occasions. I'm sure you became second time here. We saw that the rice consumption in the world has been increasing, and we are saying that compared to in 2010, when the rice consumption, actual consumption was 450 million ton, it will be 546 million ton in 2035. So we need to supply additional milled rice, 160 million ton. So all this assumption depends on one very critical thing. There is the relationship between income and rice consumption. Actually, recently some people argue that the income elasticity for rice consumption in China is negative. I didn't check. But for India, it is not negative but small. So if that is the case, this cannot happen. I mean, rice consumption will decline. So we need to check that what are the income elasticity, what the relationship between rice consumption and income in major rice consuming countries like, let's say, India, China, Bangladesh, Indonesia. So in the next few slides, I'm going to show if this thing using Bangladesh is the case. Why Bangladesh is the case? It's simple. It is the fourth largest rice consuming and producing country in the world. And per capita rice consumption is enormous. And most importantly, economic changes is remarkable. For example, in 2000, per capita GDP was nominal GDP, of course, 363 US dollar only. In 2011, within 11 years, 734. Now it is 1,004 US dollar. So it is more than 100% increase. So with this increase in income per capita, it gives an opportunity to examine what the relationship, what happened to rice consumption per capita. So that is one of the reasons why I use Bangladesh as a case. In this particular exercise, we just consider 6 major commodities. So Bangladesh household, they give you 15 types of different commodities that people consume, household consume, and it requires enormous amount of time to convert the data in laptop. It requires, I think, supercomputer. In this, even this result, it took nearly 3 days to convert in these 6 commodities. So major commodities: rice and wheat products, fish, lentil, and vegetable. These are the major commodities in Bangladesh, of course. And then our data again, 2010. So number of households is 29,760. And we applied, this is the rice consumption pattern and all other consumption pattern. You can see from here. In 2000, per capita per year, rice consumption was 164 kilogram. It declined to 150 kilogram in 2010. I don't know why. I mean, this might have declined, particularly in the urban area in Bangladesh. But look at the wheat consumption. Yearly per capita only 10 kilograms. So you can see from here, only rice. But the rice in Bangladesh, we don't eat rice, only rice. We need some other curry. I mean, let's say lentil or vegetables. So in a sense, rice and wheat can be substituted. This can be substituted, but these are the complementary things. So in this model, I also include substitute and complementarity to get the precision in my result. The model is inbuilt model in Stata. It's now it's the routine work of Stata. So it is very simple. I just use almost ideal demand system in a system of equation where Wi is the share of that particular commodity, and this is the initial value you have to say. This is like LPM, linear probability modeling. This you have to put some value here first. Okay, this much amount of. Let's say what this alpha is really critical. I'd like to say something about it. Let's say as a human being, I need to consume something even if my income is zero. So that is the case here. This much of this commodity is essential. It can be zero. Let's say I don't eat rice, I don't eat wheat, or I eat some people they don't eat meat. It's fine. But some commodity you must eat. So this is the case. And this is PJ. This is very simplistic form. The price of the commodity, and this is coefficient. And this is demographics. So in Stata, it's a nice thing that you can also include demographics because it's obvious that people with a household with 8 members and a household 2 members, there must be different the consumption pattern. So we carry this one. And N is the income. And the most important part here is that we use 2-stage budgeting method. What is that? Remember, we have taken only a part of consumption, not the total consumption of a household. We just took only 6 commodities, rice, wheat, and others. We just left others. Now the question is, what we did for this end, we assumed okay, this part of expenditure is a function of full rice expenditure, full food expenditure, and some other variables. So this is actually estimated. Again, that we have not considered whole expenditure, food expenditure, only the part, and then we model this part as a function of the whole expenditure. So it is called 2-stage budgeting method. Now you see here, actually there's the income elasticity, or in a sense expenditure elasticity in Bangladesh over the years. So in 2000 it was 0.55. This means a 1% increase in expenditure or income would increase rice consumption by 0.55%. This elasticity. It declined by 0.8 percentage point from 2000 to 2010. So look at this absolute size of this elasticity and the sign. So it is positive and absolute size is high. This means the prediction what we did that we need to produce additional 160 million tons of rice by 2035 is true, at least in the case of Bangladesh. We are on the way to examine this issue in the case of India, and it's done. I think I can show this in our IRS CRS presentation about India. And the wheat elasticity is high. In this data, it is obvious. Let's say the expenditure is very low, right? You have seen only 10 kilogram per year per capita. So it gives sometimes very superficially very high, but it's not the case. It doesn't mean that an increase in income, people will immediately jump into rice wheat consumption. It will take time in Bangladesh. My case is, it took 10 years. Remember, income increased by 100% from 2000 to 2011. But rice consumption only declined the elasticity by 8 percentage points. So this means it will take another maybe 50 years to come to be completely elastic. Again, my understanding, maybe I'm wrong, but it's my firm belief that rice consumption and income elasticity cannot be negative. It's impossible. In Japan, maybe it can be inelastic. Maybe there will be no relationship between income because people need to eat rice at a fixed amount. Whatever the income, doesn't matter. So it doesn't mean that if my income suddenly go up, I will stop eating rice. That will be the case. So it is true that our prediction about 160 million tons of more rice. This is the price elasticity to confirm that rice is not an inferior good. You see from here, it's normal and necessary good. Positive income elasticity and negative price elasticity. So this side I'm showing Hickshian or compensated, and this is uncompensated Martian price elasticity. So again, rice is a normal and necessary commodity, strictly not an inferior commodity. Yeah, I saw some presentation in IRRI that people say that rice is a poor man's food. It hurts me because I'm a rice eater. I'm not poor. That's all about my presentation. I'll go to our formal friends. Before that, please, if you have any question.
The floor is open for questions. Anyone? Hello, hello, hello. Yeah. Anyone have any questions? Yes.
What's the share of the 6 commodities in terms of
That is
expenditure?
sure. Around 30%,
50?
35%. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, actually, my assumption is very simple that the separability of utility function, and then you know this, right? So very simply, I assume okay, the utility is a function of let's say this 6 commodity plus something. This function of so I only assume this one, and then my as I said that it's a two-stage budgeting. So M my okay. So my M is actually depends on is a function of total food expenditure and total non-food expenditure plus other household demographics, and then I got estimated expenditure on these 6 commodities. So that is my total budget on these 6 commodities, and then I estimate how this estimated budget allocated between these 6 commodities. That's budget. That is WI budget share. Yeah, again, if you
What happened in Bangladesh happened in the Philippines. I predict that rice consumption will go up, but females would eat more. Unlike in Bangladesh.
I have not checked the intra-household consumption. I don't know. Maybe later sometime. Yes, please.
Expenditures on rice, does it also include dining out, eating rice while dining out?
The dining out has a separate component in H data. So this is only within household. But the dining out has another. Yeah, that's another paper we call it.
Would that make sense to try and do dining out, for instance, increases? I don't know, would that make sense to try to do an effort to create a new variable for another paper?
So including drug,
Combine both,
so 6 plus dining out, so 7 commodities. It's possible.
or rice, aggregate rice into one.
So you have dining out, like
Yeah. Here there is no. I excluded the dining out is a separate item in H data, and that I just included this one. This is only cereal consumption and fish and vegetables. Yeah, it can be possible. It is possible to include this one more variables. Okay, 6 plus 1, right? 7 variables dining out.
Or aggregate everything into one rice, all rice.
Dining out, rice, and in
The real amount of rice eaten. The real expenditures. But that, of course, it's difficult, but the question is, would that make sense? Would you find different trends there?
the problem with the dining out is that price variable is not available. You can say, okay, how many times you have taken rice or those things, and if there is no price, you cannot. Yeah, in this AIS model, I can try. It's possible. Any burning questions?
No more?
No more questions, then let me continue. This is not a complete list, but I would like to thank these persons. With whom I worked last 2 years, and who really inspired me. Yeah, for example, yeah. And particularly, I'd like to thank my friend Dana and Tita Mirla. Every aspect, when I ask anything, why does it? I mean, they do. I mean, it happens actually. When I ask anything, they perform it. How they perform, I never asked, but I got the thing. This is the badminton court. He was my partner, but we lost, right? And then I'd like to thank actually Dr. Monty because I confess that I had very little knowledge on agriculture because I'm completely student of economics, developing economics. But he was courageous enough to give me chance to work in agriculture. So many thanks to you, sir, for giving me a chance. And you have taken a risk actually giving me a chance to work here. Thank you very much. And thank you all for giving me a patient hearing. Thank you. My final word is don't say me goodbye, but please say me see you again.
Okay. Everybody, there's a treat coming from Dr. Mottaleb. So please proceed downstairs, lobby for